Good morning, everyone. Thank you for tuning in to our August Wellness webinar. My name is Kate Twitty, and I'm the Pro Marketing Coordinator here at Zyto. Today, we'll be pleased to hear from Logan Densley, who will be speaking about healing through connection. For August, we do have some incredible specials going on. For the Zyto Balance, we're offering 2 months of free subscription with any purchase. That's $100 in savings. And to take advantage of that offer, you can go to zyto.com/promotion. For our Pro systems, we're offering 6 months free subscription plus up to $750 off. You can take advantage of this incredible deal at zyto.com/pro-promotion. Today we want to highlight the Zyto Evox system. Zyto Evox is a powerful tool for reframing subconscious perceptions and limiting beliefs. Thousands of practitioners, including therapists, use this technology to assist clients with relationships, addictions, performance, general wellness, and more. You can learn more at zyto.com/evox. As we mentioned earlier, today we'll be joined by Logan Densley, LCSW. Logan has a master's degree in social work. He's a therapist at Veritas Mental Health, and he provides treatment for depression, marriage problems, substance abuse, and addictions.
Hey, Logan. Thanks so much for joining us. We're super excited to hear you talk about healing through connection today.
Thanks, Kate. We're excited to be here. I'm grateful for the opportunity to be able to talk to you guys. So I think we'll just jump right in real quick. So one of the things that, as we talked a little bit beforehand about some things we wanted to discuss today, we wanted to take a look at in this evolving world we're in right now. This is an unprecedented time in history where we have this shift of the way we connect and what's happening with COVID and with a lot of the social pressures and the political things going on right now. It's creating a lot of anxiety and it's creating a lot of disconnection. People are having to be closed in. They're not able to get the type of experiences that normally help kind of fill our cups, if you will. And so a couple of things we thought we would talk about today is some ways that we can connect and ways we typically connect and ways we can overcome that in these days with the unique situations we have of being closed into our homes a lot more and isolated so much more. So there's a model we like to talk about. We call it the lanes, and it's like 4 lanes on a freeway. And when we typically connect, historically, what we do is we have a job we go to every week, and that would be called our work or our worker education lane, if you will. And that's where we go and we have associates at work and friends and coworkers and clients that we're talking with and we're engaging with on a regular basis. And that is something that's super helpful for us to feel some level of fulfillment and success. Now, when we're younger, we do that through school and education. We're at classes, and we go to class, we experience friendships, and over time we grow with people and are able to connect with teachers and mentors. And this is a really powerful way for us in our lives as we grow and develop to connect with our minds, if you will. One of the second areas is our physical bodies. So typically what that looks like is we're exercising, we're out playing sports with family and friends. In schools, we're doing that on sports teams and whatnot, or extracurricular activities. We go to the lake, we're going to the gym, and a lot of those things have been closed down over the last year or so. And we don't have a lot of hope that those things are going to change in the next 6 to 8 months. Physically, we are feeling a lot of strain and stress from that, and also emotionally. And so those are some things we'll talk about. Spiritually and or religiously, I kind of stay away from the religious idea of that, but we'll talk about spirituality and touch on religion, but not dive too deep on any type of specific religion, if you will. But spiritually, we tend to have some level of connection. And I went to a very non-religious college. My university work was done at a non-religious university, and we talked a lot about the importance of spirituality and really tried to stay away from religion because sometimes it's a very personal experience for people. But the way that people's spirituality has been going is often individuals get that through some type of religious institution or connections, such as going to a congregation for meetings and serving one another in service activities. And those things have been really limited. And so we'll talk a little bit about how we can connect in those areas. And then social and family. And this is probably one of the nicest ways for most of us to connect. We have a good friend, or we feel close to our family members. There's that really good, healthy give and take in those relationships. It tends to really fill our cup. We tend to feel a lot better about where we're at in life and how those things can kind of take care of us from one struggle to the next. So any thoughts before we jump in, Cade?
No, I really like that. And I think that kind of the spirituality aspect of things is one thing that seems to kind of take the back burner when we start looking at, if we start to feel like our cup is emptying. I think that finding that connection to whatever kind of higher power we believe in, at least from what I've seen in my life, that seems to be the first thing that goes. And so I'm really glad that we were able to touch on that point.
Excellent. Okay, so I'll jump off. One of the things I think I neglected to mention is that when we do not have those 4 areas connecting really well, there's I call it 4 lanes. There's a 5th lane called the emergency lane. This is what we shift over into when things don't go well. So if my wife and I, for instance, got in a fight last night, I might spend half the night watching Netflix, right? Or if my job is really stressing me out, I might find that on the weekends I'm doing things that are really healthy for me. Maybe I'm hitting the bar, maybe I'm smoking or drinking too much, or maybe I even find some type of things that are really hurtful for my body, some substances that might be really, some drugs that might be able to hurt me, or I might just check out, shut down. Depression, anxiety, substance abuse, addictions. Those are things that when these things aren't going well, I shift over to that emergency lane. And we do that because it works. When I have a really bad day at work, if I come home and check out and watch some new series on Netflix, I get to not think about how rough work was. And we call those things maladaptive coping mechanisms. And so as we kind of go through, just remember that as we're struggling in life, we'll find things that sometimes actually are really helpful for a bit. It might be good to play video games for maybe an hour after we get home from work, just to kind of unwind. It's when we hit that 2nd and 3rd hour, it starts to become a detrimental thing and not an adding to my life thing. And so there's a lot of things sometimes we even think, hey, it's great going to the gym and it's really helpful for me. But when I hit the 2nd hour at the gym, I start to have questions as a therapist. I start to go, okay, now what's that doing for you? And what's that having you avoid? Where are you missing out connection because you're spending so much time in that area? And so we tend to overcompensate sometimes. So with work and education, which is the 1st lane, some questions I like to ask individuals is, hey, how's your job going? Are you enjoying your coworkers? Are you enjoying your area of study, the area you're working in? If you're not, I'd ask you to take a look at what do we do to change some of those things, such as we change your attitude and your behavior at work so that it's more fulfilling. There might be some struggles. Well, hey, this just isn't working great. I need to make some adjustments either within the company now or to switch companies, which sometimes is necessary. But if we can find some areas in life that are very comfortable, where we feel that we can have connections that are helpful, then we're able to continue to fulfill ourselves through that work lane, right? I go to work and my coworkers help me to grow and to learn, and my boss pushes me. Or I help my coworkers to experience new experiences. We talk about books we're reading. We try to go to conferences and trainings, such as this video is an excellent way to expand our knowledge in that area. So one of the things I like to ask in that area with work and education is what are you doing on a daily basis to connect with yourself? We used to go to the office, but now with the changing of times over the next couple of months, that might be really difficult for a lot of us. So are we going to do non-conference calls? Are we trying to maybe do lunches with individuals, things where we can still social distance a little bit, but get together in an area where it would be safe and wise for us to do so? So having to adjust with what's going on right now has been difficult for a lot of individuals. So how do we move forward from that? Zoom meetings are helpful, but nothing really beats face-to-face connection. So there's some things we can do, maybe one-on-ones, trainings, meetings with partners or coworkers to move projects along. Just those little bits of interaction with individuals is super helpful to feel more connected. One of the things I encourage individuals to do, especially now we have so much time, a lot of us used to commute to work, and now we've got an hour or two extra a day, and we're at home, and that kind of creates some extra pressures. I love a habit to put in that area is to read every day. Find any nonfiction book, something that's going to really kind of strengthen your mind, expand your view, and just nonfiction, so we're educating ourselves on any topic that you're interested in that might help you expand your knowledge and understanding. And I recommend that we do that in different areas. So I might have, if I'm a very religious individual, I might read some type of a religious book that's very helpful. Then I'd say on the next book, try to jump onto something that's business. And maybe on the next one is on health or dietary needs and those types of things, so that we're constantly expanding. If we do about one chapter or half hour every day, we can knock out 1,000 books in just a couple of years. I mean, it's really goes quite quickly. Plus, we're constantly strengthening that area of our lives, which adds a lot of satisfaction and fulfillment. The second area is our physical bodies. We typically take care of ourselves in those ways as we get older. We try to hit the gym. We go on walks with our partners, or we have at the office. There's a gym downstairs that we can go to on a lunch break, or just walking back and forth from work. Sometimes we get our steps in every day, and so that's totally changed. We can't go to the gym anymore. The gyms are closed or are limited, and it kind of feels like we're in a unique situation at the gyms. Everybody's got masks on, which is super uncomfortable and unusual, and so we're having a hard time trying to figure out how to navigate that area. So some things that I personally found helpful is there's a lot of apps out there that are at-home workout apps. There's some Nike apps. There's one called Center that I actually been using lately. A client recommended it. I thought it was excellent. Chris Hemsworth that. I'm not getting paid at all, but it's helpful just to stay connected. One of the things we tend to focus on when we're talking about our physical and emotional bodies is we get results oriented instead of connection oriented. So we might go too hard. So I go to the gym and I feel like I'm in high school again. I got my basketball coach yelling behind me, move it, go, go, go. And then what happens is I burn out. So when I go for a run, I go really hard. And then after about a week of going for runs, I don't want to go on a run again because it was miserable. And I look like I took a shower after I'm done with the run. When we take an experience and we think about it as, am I connecting? I listen to my body a little bit more. I don't need to lose weight. I don't need to, I probably need to lose weight, but the goal behind this physical exercise isn't to lose weight, it's to connect with your physical body. So about 20 or 30 minutes every other day or every day, whatever fits your needs, of aerobic exercise, you'll find extremely mentally and physically connective and beneficial. Now, little caveats here, little side notes. If you go for a run, because that's your thing, great. But if you start to get a blister, stop. That's your body telling you you're not quite ready for that level of engagement. And it's okay. We got time. We'll get there. We don't need to push ourselves to our limits. We just need to get out and be doing something. Get our heart rate up. I'll mention, get a little sweat going on the brow, and then you're right at the right spot. If you look like you're taking a shower, we might be going too hard and tone it down just a little bit. But also something that's really helpful in this area, besides physical exercise, is, and what we can do a little bit more being home so much, is we can change how we eat. We can take a little bit of time and come up with some different recipes or different things we can learn to cook at home. And some people are excellent cooks and they're probably really enjoying this. But like me, I don't cook often. I can follow a recipe, but sometimes it's a little intimidating. But changing the things we eat will change how we feel. So good in, good out is what we kind of get. So as we're listening to our physical bodies, putting good food in and maybe taking this time in the next couple of months of learning how to cook different foods and different meals might be really helpful. And it also rolls into something that is really helpful when we feel this level of isolation, which is having hobbies and different levels of connection. The other area we wanted to discuss in this is good sleep. Sometimes because we don't have to maybe be at the office anymore, it's 8 a.m. or whatever, our sleep habits have got off a little bit, so we're not getting the level of rest that we're used to getting. So we talk about what's called good hygiene as we go to bed at night. Good hygiene, sleep hygiene is this. We have a good routine that puts us in bed at a similar time every night. So that might look like I'm brushing my teeth, I'm reading a book, or I'm saying personal spiritual time or something right before bed. And if that looks the same every night, what ends up happening is our body emotionally and physically prepares this is time to rest. This is time to, limiting screen time right before we go to bed. These are things that get us to get into that mode. And then having a similar time of waking up in the morning and having those routines is very good, not just for our physical body, but for our emotional health. We tend to get those habits in place. And we haven't thought about this in years because we used to have our routines laid out for us. We knew we went to work at this time, we came home at this time, we would squeeze the gym in either before or after work, and if we did at all, sometimes we're so busy. I have 5 kids, and so getting to the gym, if that's going to happen, has to happen like 6 a.m. in the morning before anybody gets up, right? So those habits were in place, and this has totally imploded that. So now I'm finding myself, it's actually quite nice. I don't have to get up at 6 to go to the gym anymore because I'm just downstairs doing a 30-minute workout on my TV with no weights, which is a little unusual because I'm used to doing some weightlifting for a while, and which was a hard habit for me to start. I did not enjoy it at all, but I realized I'm getting old, and if I want to be able to play with my kids and my grandkids, I need to start taking care of myself. So I needed to connect to my physical body a little bit more, but I've had to adjust. And as we do that, figure out what works for you. Try it out for a week. If it's not a good fit, we can adjust that. These are habits, not laws. We don't have to work out every day for this amount of minutes to be able to do that. Some days you might not get a good night's sleep, so maybe we're going to skip the exercise today because we're going to listen to what our body needs. For me, if I have a child that's up, having bad dreams and they keep me up half the night, I'm going to skip my workout. Why? Because my body needs a little bit more rest today, and listening to that is really helpful. To stay connected is really the key there. So that's on the physical and emotional. With emotional, we tend to in our society, and this is just been exacerbated by what's going on right now. We tend to take emotions, and those aren't safe. We try to push those down and avoid dealing with those, right? And if we show our emotions, we tend to look a little volatile or a little bit. People are unsure what to do with that. We're a little afraid especially in our professional lives, showing emotions. We want to learn how to connect with our emotions and our thoughts and our feelings. And I'll say, honor your thoughts, feelings, and emotions. They're there to give you feedback. And as you start to do that, you'll feel a better connection. If we avoid those, what ends up happening over time is we end up having moments of explosion, right? That might be, I'm doing really good, and then all of a sudden I down a gallon of ice cream. That might be my choice, or preferred choice, if you will. Other people, they blow up and punch a hole in the wall or throw something across the room, and heaven forbid, that's sometimes a little volatile. Other people, they just shut down. They just hold on to all that emotion. It balls up, and like a pressure cooker, sometimes it blows out and sometimes it blows in. And that looks really like depression. I'm just don't have the energy to do anything anymore. And we're seeing a lot of that right now because people we haven't learned how to connect with our emotions. We just go about life as a schedule. So with emotional connectivity, there are a lot of different ways to do that. And some of that's actually really been aided through this. We can do a lot more meditative work because we're not go. We're not out in the car, getting to work, going to meetings. It's happening a lot at home. So it's freed up a lot of that travel time. But I like to think about, and I'm no expert in this area, but we call it, there's different areas we can do with mindfulness exercises, such as breathing exercises, body scanning, meditation, whatever you find is connected for you, but it's slowing down, getting centered, and listening and kind of freeing up your mind to kind of go to a place that it can let off some of that emotional energy and get more centered. And so one of the habits I like to recommend is 5 to 10 minutes of meditation. Jump on YouTube, type in guided meditation, and if it's got more than 1 million views, try it out. It's like all things, there's a flavor you're going to like, and there's some that are going to come off a little odd. So, and that's okay. That's okay. Everybody has their own flavor. What's yours? And it might be that you don't want anything. You just want to sit in silence and just be with your thoughts, which is okay. But learning how to connect with those innermost thoughts, feelings, and emotions, and how to honor them, not avoid them, is super helpful as we're going through these things and these difficult times. The next area is spiritual and or religious. So I know a lot of religious institutions have kind of had to adjust how they're doing that, and they're having congregational meetings in the parking lots and Zoom meetings and things like that. And if that's happening, great to keep some level of connection. But what we'll talk about is probably more along the lines of the spirituality of this. Spirituality, for me, I call that connecting to God. For some friends I have, it's on being on the hunt or fishing, right? And that's where they get their spiritual connection. And I don't have a lot of push. I used to do a lot of work with the 12-step programs. I used to work at a couple of different facilities, and talks about identifying a higher power. And higher power can kind of be anything you want it to be in the 12-step program. I tend to push a little bit against that, in that I want individuals to connect to the higher power that can connect back to them. For instance, I had a client who, she said, my higher power is the waves of the ocean. And I said, interesting, tell me about that. And she said, in the morning, she says, I live about a block from the beach. In the morning, I'll go down to the beach. I'll do yoga for about 30 minutes, and then I'll meditate and just feel the waves of the ocean crashing on the sand and just sit pretty close to that and just feel that energy. And I said, I love that. That is super connective, right? She has a time set aside every day to go spend time with that. And I don't know, and I'm not trying to put it into too much of a box for anybody, but if it's not something you can connect to and gives back to you, then it might not be a spiritual connectivity that is very beneficial, right? If my higher power is the ceiling, which I had one client have, I said, well, tell me how you connect to the ceiling. And he had a hard time understanding what that word, because that wasn't a great fit for a reciprocal relationship. That connection comes from two directions, right? So whatever it is for you, no judgment, just try to find spirituality that gives and takes. For some people, that's through prayer and also meditation. For some people, that's good karma. They go out and they serve people, and that comes back around to them in a really healthy way. The habits I choose to try to do in my own personal life is I try to spiritually educate myself. Sometimes that's historical education, such as things like the Bible. Other times that's a spiritual education of reading books on how other people can connect to their higher power and maybe glean some things that kind of resonate with me in my life. But every day I try to set aside about 10 minutes of spiritual time where I can connect in ways that make sense for me in my life. Social and family. This is the one that's taken a really big hit through this. We used to have birthday parties we go out to. We used to have picnics in the winter. We had Christmas parties and work parties, and those things are gone. That's been imploded. And what do we do now? How do we move forward without being able to get together with anybody? Or we can only get together with 2 or 3 people. I've had some neighbors where they're getting together with their families, and they have one family sit here, and they'll have to be, and on the line on the ground they've got these painted the grass where there's these gaps. No kids can cross this line. The Johnson family stays here. The Taylor family stays here. But it works for them, and they can see their cousins or they can see their friends. And depending on what state you're in or what level of isolation or distancing you have to have, we have to get a little bit creative. And we have to get a little bit creative in how we are connecting and how we're creating some of those boundaries. One individual he said, I go out every day in the backyard and I talk to my friend who was my next door neighbor across the fence. And we'd sit there and just chat, and then we'd play Minecraft together on our iPads out in the backyard so we could talk, and it worked for him. But we have to get a little bit outside the box, because our last 40, 50 years, most of the time we've been alive, we've never had to deal with anything like this before. And so this is totally new, a game changer. We have to relearn how to socially connect with people in times we're supposed to be socially distancing and isolating. And we had a neighbor down the street, and their husband got COVID, and he was locked in the basement away from his family for almost 2 weeks because of that. And his wife had just had a baby the week before. And so it was super hard. And so as neighbors, we tried to we were dropping off DoorDash coupons for them, leaving them on the doorstep and stuff, trying to help out as much as we could. But it was unique. It was super unusual because we're changing what we're doing. So they got a bounce house that we put in the backyard for the kids to be able to play with so that the mother would have some time alone. We just have to make some adjustments. With friends and family, it might look like more phone calls, reaching out to old friends, high school buddies, college friends, roommates, and family and friends. But picking that time to really, that one-on-one connection is super fulfilling. One issue that we've seen in this area is we've seen an increase in domestic disturbances or domestic violence, because some of us don't have the skills or weren't aware that our relationships were strained. And now we spend so much time together, it's really exacerbating the lack of some of the skills. And that's not an individual flaw. That's we just don't know what we don't know. And so I might have a partner where we're great at connecting because I'm at work all day long and she's at her job all day long. And then we come home and we navigate. If we have children, we navigate what that looks like. Or if we have hobbies, and so we have these ways of having little interactions with each other that are very fulfilling. But when we have to spend all day together, that's a little overwhelming. I'm not used to spending that much time with this individual. I might love them. They might be my dream person. The partner, I couldn't imagine having a better partner, and then also I have to spend 24/7 with them, and that gets really difficult. So one of the characteristics we like to think about when we're looking at social and emotional connectivity, social and family connections, is, are we considering each other's wants and needs, or being what we call assertive? I consider what I want and need sometimes, and this is most often our default. We tend to be very egocentric. What do I want? What do I need? And if I'm not getting it, I tend to sometimes walk over other people. Right? Who comes first in my world? Me. And who comes first in my wife's world, where I want that to be me? Okay? And that tends to not create great relationships. So what we need to do is we need to ask ourselves, how can I consider what my partner, what my child, what my friend, what my coworker wants and needs, and then check that against what I want and need. And then see if we can maybe negotiate. Now, negotiation is an interesting word. When we think about historically in the world, when one country is trying to negotiate with another country, the country's trying to figure out how they can get the most out of the other country and give the least. That's called good negotiation tactics. In social skills and interpersonal relationships, that is the exact opposite. What you want to figure out is like with a partner, if for instance with me and my wife, what I want to figure out is, what can I do to give the most, not get the most, give the most without resenting it. It's a fine line. So if we have this plan of who's division of labor in the home. So I vacuum, she does dishes. I fold laundry, she does the laundry. I pull the bed sheets. We might have this all worked out, and I have drafted to have a good relationship. I got to think to myself, what can I do the most of for her and not resent it? Now we might come to a decision to, hey, I'm going to talk with her. We're going to work this out. Okay, she's got this, this, and this, and I got this, this, and this. I'll run the garbage. I'll do the laundry or whatever it is. And if we start doing that, if I notice about a week in or a day in, wow, I feel like this is really unbalanced, or wow, I'm starting to really not like my partner because of this. That's when we need to kind of time out and go back and say, hey, this isn't working great for me. Can we talk about maybe making some different adjustments here? and renegotiate. Okay, because it's okay. We can be flexible. We're changing things that are constantly moving and shifting in life. So if we take time to listen to each other and consider each other's wants and needs, we'll tend to have a lot better connections. This works in every area of your life, with coworkers, with clients. The best question to ask yourself is, what do they really want? Because you might be selling them something that they don't even want. If you know what their want and needs are, you can adjust what you're selling or your product or your service to see if it's a good fit for them. If you're not, then you're probably tend to lose a lot of sales because you're pushing what you think is important and they don't. And so reaching out and understanding, what does this individual want and need, and how do I consider their wants and needs and my wants and needs in relationships is paramount. Without doing that, we tend to run into a lot of issues. So any other thoughts any questions you have?
No, I really appreciate that. I think that was some incredible advice, and I think we can all take several different aspects out of that. I do have a couple questions for you that have came through. So one is, I think a lot of people in this time are feeling this. They love that they're home. They love that they have the extra time, but they're struggling with, and we kind of hit on it already, but they're struggling with those relationships at home, whether it be, man, I am so frustrated that I've been stuck with my kids for 6 months, or man, if I don't get a break from my spouse for, at some point, because I've been stuck in here for 6 months, like, I don't know what I'm going to do. And how can people maintain, we talked about, through connection, but do you have any other tips of how people can maintain those home relationships and really strengthen them in this time where there's really not a lot of personal or private space?
Absolutely. I love how you said that, personal and private space. That was the first place I was going to go. Create some good boundaries. And the boundary simply is what am I okay with and what am I not okay with, right? Barriers prevent connection. Boundaries enable connection through safe means. So I feel like my partner or my children are starting to kind of walk over my boundaries a little bit. I need to create some space there. That might be as simple as, you guys stay inside, I'm going to sit on the front doorstep for the next 30 minutes. I might go to my room and don't spend too much time in those areas, otherwise we start to avoid everybody because of it. But finding areas to kind of safe spaces for us where we can break away and have a moment to ourselves, and create that as a habit. If we've got a lot of children in the home, maybe having quiet time or reading time where things get quiet, and that way we can create some safety or some emotional space with us. Another area that we can do really helpful, that can be very helpful during this time, is developing new habits, new interests, new hobbies. Okay, so that might be, maybe I've always wanted to play the piano, so I download an app and I go downstairs where the piano's at, and I put my iPad up there or my iPhone, and well, maybe it's an Android, but and I'm an Apple guy clearly. And I start practicing every day for maybe 5 or 10 minutes the piano. Well, 6 months from now, I might actually be able to read music and do a lot, or improve my skills a bunch. Hobbies and skills that we've desired to develop for a long time. We now have an opportunity to break away from our families in those moments for 15, 20 minutes and create that. So having a new hobby, that might be as a family, and so everybody's kind of working towards a common goal. Having some of those are really helpful. And having hobbies for myself, something that I always wanted to do. I was talking to somebody the other day, and we mentioned the old movie Groundhog's Day, right? And classic, I love it. I would try to watch it every year with my kids on Groundhog's Day. But in the movie, he's reliving the same day over and over again, and he goes through some different stages of manipulating and then getting really depressed. But he hits this one of the co-stars in the show says, "Is this what you do when you have eternity? Are you just going to sit here and eat all this food and take advantage of people?" And so then he goes to work on himself. And every day he starts taking piano lessons. He starts reading. He starts helping people out. And it's just little steps over time create huge results. if I start exercising every day just a little bit, 6 months, I'm seeing some physical changes. In 6 years from now, I look amazing because I've taken care of my body. And I don't have to become a gym rat to do that. I just am making subtle steps on a daily basis that create that connection that is going to improve myself. Whether that's the piano or maybe Babbel is one of those apps you can download in a language, but finding individual successes and goals that you can achieve that are small. We don't need some big Herculean effort on any of this, but creating some safe spaces, some hobbies to work on, some common goals if we are in a family with a partner, or roommates, where we say, hey, our goal is to keep the place really clean because we're all here all the time now. Our goal is we're going to learn this language. We're going to start trying to do that. Our goal is we're going to exercise daily. I like to stay away from the goals in the physical area that are I want to lose 10 pounds. I hate that goal. Because that's about, once I've lost the weight, then I stop doing the things that got me there. I like looking at I don't care if my clients lose weight when they're exercising. I care that they connect. Now, we all know that if we're connecting well and listening to our bodies and putting ourselves in that really good area where we feel very connected physically as we're exercising, we're probably going to lose some weight. But that's not the purpose of it. The purpose is this connection. So hopefully those are some good ideas and helpful tips on what we can do to as we're stuck at home a little bit more.
That's great. One last question for you, and we talked a little bit about this also earlier. We hope that everyone out there that's viewing this is, in a good place. But if someone is in a position where, they are stuck in a position of domestic violence, or they know someone that's in a position of domestic violence or abuse, what recommendations do you have for them at this time, and what advice would you have for them?
I think the hard part about this is we see movies sometimes where it's bad. Like in the movies, it's really bad and the person's a horrible person. Often we find individuals are really good people, and when life stresses bear down on them, they do stupid things. And everybody needs help, right? So what we have to do is, if I find myself in a situation where I'm in an abusive relationship, or feeling emotionally abused, or physically, which is tragic and unfortunate, but it does happen. Hopefully that is just isolated incidences that we can work together to try to readjust. If it's toxic and pervasive in the relationship, it might not be a relationship we need to be in, but that's when I'd say we need to reach out to some friends and some family, or go get a professional help, whether that's a therapist or a spiritual leader, somebody who they can connect to check things with. I find that if we have a couple of good friends or a lot of good friends, we tend to check information. Hey, my wife just got an inheritance of $50,000 from her grandfather. I think I'm going to go buy a new Corvette. I checked that with my friend Kate, and Kate looks at me and goes, I'm sorry, what? Your wife got an inheritance from her grandfather and you're going to go buy a new car? Is your wife on board with this? And then I go, oh, wait, I should probably check that, right? So finding people to check information about with is very helpful. So if I have a partner who I'm going, wow, I think this might feel a little abusive. I don't know if this response is okay. And I go to lunch with my friend Kate, and I said, hey, I'm not sure how this works, but when you're dating somebody, is this normal? And sometimes I go, oh, yeah, that happens. And other times I go, ooh, yeah, that's a little bit much. Are you okay? Are you safe, right? And there are organizations out there. There are shelters for battered women. There are places that you can go to seek some help. If you're in one of those circumstances, this is not how life is supposed to feel. We're not supposed to live in fear. We're not supposed to live in shame. Life is hard, and we work hard at it, and there are down times for sure, and so sometimes that happens. But if you feel like that it's happening because somebody else is forcing something on top of you all the time, that tends to be a relationship that is not a balanced one. And so reach out for help. Do some good reading, some internet searches to maybe get a ballpark. If we don't have a lot of friends, to see, hey, wait, this looks like abuse, or this is not okay. And then we have to start to find ways to get out of those circumstances or change those things. And that just as subtly as changing our attitudes and changing our behavior. Sometimes we might think it's our fault. I can't imagine that it's always my fault that somebody else is upset. I don't have that much power in my wife's life. So if my wife or my partner is always upset and it's always my fault, I might go, I have way too much power in this relationship if I'm always responsible for how happy they are. And I want to give them that power back. I don't want to hold their happiness, right? If I had that much power with my partner, I would choose to make them happier more all the time. So it's their job to kind of handle their side of the fence, if you will. And so if those circumstances are happening, by all means, get some help, reach out, and maybe check the information, make sure that maybe it's normal. Or maybe it's that during COVID, I just don't know how to handle something and I get upset and I throw a plate or do something that's really extreme for our relationship. The relationship doesn't need to end in that circumstance necessarily. But it is an indication that we need to reassess and set some boundaries and start to consider each other's wants and needs a little bit more.
I think that's great advice. And I think, following your steps to find connection, I think can really help address a lot of the frustrations that I think all of us are feeling and the anxieties that are going on in the world. I really appreciate you being here with us, and I really think it's been an empowering experience, especially for me, but I think for all of our listeners that are going to be tuning in. I think all of us are going to have takeaways from this that are truly appreciated, and it really means a lot that you're here with us today.
Thanks so much for the time. I appreciate you having me on, and let me know if people have any questions or whatnot. They can email me, and I'm happy to respond to those.
Awesome, will do. We will have Logan's contact info here in a little bit. This is Logan Densley with Veritas Mental Health, and we will put that on the slide here.
Thanks so much, Kate. Appreciate you.
Thanks. We'll see you later.
Bye.
If you have any additional questions for Logan or interested in looking at appointments or options they have, you can email them at veritasmentalhealth@gmail.com or on their website at veritasmentalhealth.com. Thanks again for joining us this morning. We hope you enjoyed the presentation, and we'll see you next month. Mention our next wellness webinar as well. Next month, we'll be hearing from Dr. Sylvia Hood, and she'll be talking about natural paths for lymphatic wellness. That will be on September 2nd, 2020 at 10 a.m. Mountain Time. I would just encourage everyone to take a look at our today's basic immunity report. This was a report that we just released here a couple months ago, kind of with the intent to focus on what we can do to strengthen our immune systems. The new balance report focuses on the 6 foundational areas of immunity: the immune system, the gastrointestinal system, the lymphatic system, the respiratory system, mental and emotional stress, and sleep. With this report, we've added more than 20 new biomarkers, and this report is available to all Balance customers. If you have any more questions or want to learn more information, here's a link below to the walkthrough video that's on our YouTube channel. Also, just wanted to quickly highlight our today's immunity biosurvey. This is a new biosurvey for our select and elite products. We released this around the same time as we released the balance report. With this new biosurvey, you can scan more than 280 biomarkers to determine which areas of immunity may need the most support. You can see top responses for your selected product, general, and service virtual items. You can select from more than 600 no-sod virtual items for homeopathic output. You can gain important insights into immunity from the 6 different reports and vectors tab. If you have any questions or want to learn more about this new biosurvey, here's a link below. If you own the Select and Elite systems, I would really encourage you to take a look at this. If you're a current Balance customer or interested in learning more about our Pro systems, I would also check this out. This has been a very popular biosurvey since its release, especially with a lot of the questions revolving in the health community now as to how we can maintain our wellness and immunity in these trying times. Just wanted to quickly talk about our Zyto Remote system. During these times of increased quarantines and restrictions on business and the ability of a practitioner or health provider to have patients come into the office due to health concerns, it can sometimes seem very overwhelming and hard to think about how you can grow your business. And how you can continue to scan clients. And the Zyto Remote is really an incredible tool that I would encourage everyone to take a look at and possibly consider. With Zyto Remote, you can scan your clients anywhere. As long as they have internet access and access to a computer, you can ship this hand cradle to them, and you can host a session from anywhere. So it really eliminates kind of the need to I guess to worry about how you can overcome a lot of the situations that we're dealing with here, and it can really be an incredible tool for growing your business. There's a couple links here. We've got an infographic as well as a link here for how you can order the remote hand cradle, and a link here to the location of where you can download the actual software for the Zyto Remote hand cradle after purchase. Like I said, I would really encourage everyone to take a look at this. We've seen a lot of practitioners that have had great success with it, and I think especially in these times it can be a great thing for you.